There we go.
Hi, welcome to If I Did It, a show where we analyze and solve pure kerfuffles from MMA world and beyond.
There you go.
I'm your host, Alexiol, and joining me as always is Kid Nate from Bloody Elbow and Eugene S. Robinson from Aussie.com and author of Fight Everything Everyone Know About Ass Kicking. We're afraid you'd get your ass kicked for
asking, baby.
All right. Now, Eugene, you're a UFC fighter. Moneyweight champion Conor McGregor says he runs the game. UFC Bantamweight champ Dominick Cruz says rankings don't matter. And if you look at who's making the money, they're both right. So what can you do at UFC 205 this weekend in New York as a fighter on the card or a fighter watching as a spectator to maximize the PR so you can become a valued commodity for WME-IMG instead of a junk bond?
Yeah, okay. I'll tell you quick and right fast, quick hurry. That listen, the it that everybody talks about, the Q ratings, rock and roll on, that it, you can't fake it, or you have to fake it very well. You have to fake it so well that it's almost not like faking it if you're going to fake it. So what you can do, simple fixes. I said it before and I said it again. I'll give you 2 words. Genki pseudo, right? You put on a Diana Ross fucking silver spangled dress, a silver platinum wig, and you make your walk into that fucking cage. You don't have to have the gift of the gab because you will be that guy who dressed like Diana Ross. You know, not something stupid that conceals your face. Now, some guys out there are listening to me going, oh, yeah, I get the Darth Vader hood. It doesn't fucking work, man. We can't see your face, you know. Oh, I'll go out in the burqa. Doesn't work. We can't see your fucking face. Eyes are the window to the soul. It's a human truism that people like looking at people. Do something to get us to pay attention right away. You know, who was it? Dennis Hallman, who came in with that baby blue Speedo nut hanging.
Right, the banana
hammock.
Smuggler.
He got in trouble. He got in trouble for that. But I remember that. And how much shit have I forgotten from that year? But I remember that, right?
So true.
And then in his, if you remember, in his pre-fight video, he's talking. And he go, "What do you think? What do you think is going to win the fight for you?" He goes, "Mostly my karate." That shit was hilarious. He didn't have to have much it. And had he not come in the banana hammock, he would have been like the it guy. But, you know, that pushed the bounds of propriety, at least in the bald one's eyes. So you have to, you got the biggest stage. I don't know how that got on there. You got the biggest stage. You got the biggest audience. You're in a fucking media center. If you leave that arena, if you leave MSG without a few cards from agents, not managers, mind you, agents. Managers will tell you how they're going to spend your money. Agents will make you money.
Yep.
Somebody from fucking WME. And don't get fooled. I mean, what you're seeing right now, this all this talk about union, bullshit. This is about CAA versus WME. I'm not the first to say it.
What is CAA for those people who don't know, Eugene?
Creative Artists Agency is one of the biggest agencies in the world. They represent. Oh, who do they represent?
George St. Pierre.
Oh, great, George St. Pierre. We're talking about what did Gene Scott used to talk about? You know, the prince of the power of the air, principalities and powers. We're talking about invisible warfare, and that's what we're fucking seeing. GSP. Oh, you think it's GSP against the UFC? Think again, friend. CAA against WME. So you want to be remembered? It starts by the time that camera turns on you. Make the most of it.
What do you think, Nate?
I can't argue with that. One factor you got to, and Eugene sort of touched on this, is you not only have to do something that resonates with the fans, you have to do something that resonates with the fans that Dana White and WME will approve of. Yeah. And they haven't always had the perfect instincts about what the fans want. Look at Roy Nelson. Roy Nelson is somebody Dana White was like, what? I don't want this fat, redneck, smelly dude repping my brand. And like later he did realize, oh, it turns out my fans like this guy, and he kind of got on board. Yep. But, you know, we've seen it before, like the banana hammock thing. If you give Dana any kind of ick or, man, that's kind of weird, he's not going to like it. Remember when Dave Herman came out with the body hair and the beard? Admittedly, a bad, stupid look, but kind of funny. Yep. As a conceptual joke. I mean, he was getting people's attention. Dana White's never been comfortable with that. And so you got to kind of thread the needle and be something that fans are going to respond to, which means being genuine and kind of electric.
Yep.
Also something that's going to please your aging Gen X conservative boss who thinks new metal that he got for free is basically free, as the backstory of Face the Pain on Bloody Elbow this week tells us. I mean, who thinks that new metal is still a good theme song in 2016? It's you got kind of a challenge there. I mean, one of the things about Pride was they really understood that this is about a panoply of characters. This is about distinctive.
Or a panoply.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Elitist Coastal College. I'm sorry, I went to a red state school.
It's guys like you.
Exactly.
So let me ask you this then. Do you think that instead of the Tito Ortiz grave digging, someone in wake of the current climate should be putting bricks down in an imaginary wall after they?
Well, you know, one of them are Trump supporters already. That's
you know the thing is, if you do that shit badly, Ben Rothwell, friend of Knuckle Up, love the guy, but that whatever shit that was doing after one of his wins, a couple fights ago, whatever that was, that just creeped me out. You know, it was obscure. It's like that joke that I told that got me kicked out of the limo in Vegas. You know, you can't, if you want to go emo Phillips, you gotta, it's gotta be the right audience.
But don't you think it's better just to at least try something and see if it sticks?
Yeah.
Sticks as opposed to just saying, I don't know if people are gonna get this.
You gotta try something, but be mindful of trying something might get you kicked out of the limo.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta keep in mind your skill level and the degree of difficulty of what you're trying to pull off. I think if you're just an ordinary meathead fighter, fight your best fight and honestly express yourself after the fight. Don't give us any of this, coach said I really had a great training camp crap. Give us some actual feelings. I mean, even the most shut down dude has some actual feelings about their opponent. Give that vent. Express your personality. Tell your story. Be true to yourself. Don't, and for Chael Sonnen.
Fuck that. Just put on a dress. Why don't you listen to me? A dress
what's the matter with you?
Easier said than done.
It's an easy fix. You come in, people say, why were you wearing the dress? And you go, excuse me? That's it.
Again, I'm just, Eugene S. Robinson, MMA Journalist of the Year and multiple time Grammy Award winner, platinum selling artist. Exactly. Like, you're an art rock guy. What do you know about popular success?
Here you go. Here's a joke that got me kicked out of the limo. Everybody's laughing and joking and drinking champagne, and we've met these high rollers at some fancy private club above the House of Blues, secret club. You got to get your name on the list, and it's great, all these different people in the limo, and they're all telling jokes, and then I say, I have a joke, and my friend is like, no. And I said, what's your joke, Eugene? And I said, what's got two hands and a pineapple in it? And they go, I don't know. And I go, you're asshole. And the guy says, he goes, I don't get that. And I laugh even harder, tears in my eyes. And he goes, in fact, it makes me kind of uncomfortable. And then I laugh even harder. I'm the only one laughing. We get to the Bellagio. I turn around. I go, hey, guys. I turn back. Whew, gone.
Man. So
out of the fucking limo, away from the party.
So uptight.
Look at the back knifer right here.
In terms of
I thought he was going to put your Cuts for Trump shirt on you.
Yeah. I already paid my $1 for that.
So Nate,
mine's in the mail.
You're WME-IMG. With Jon Jones' 1-year USADA suspension for failing a drug test upheld by an arbitration panel,
dick pills.
What are your plans for a bones-free light heavyweight division? And does their finger-wagging, embarrassing decision affect your PR plan for his eventual return?
Man, I mean, this is just one of those, as a manager, you're just like, what am I going to do with this guy? Like, this is one of those situations where Jon Jones has fucked the UFC time and time again. Not always his fault, sometimes his fault. The UFC 151 thing, I was more or less on his side. But
which was, for those who...
when he pulled out of the UFC... 151, I think, when he was supposed to fight Henderson for the title, and Henderson got hurt, and they were going to change the opponent to Chael Sonnen, and Jones wouldn't take the fight, and Dana White called him a sports killer and threw him in the grease and everything else. Right. That one was at least a reasonable business disagreement. These other things have been self-inflicted fuck-ups. These are just, pull out foot, pull out gun, start shooting at foot. I mean, this guy cost himself $9 million over a dick pill. It's like, dude, you're 20-something years old. What do you need a dick pill for? How many people are you fucking that you need dick pills, or what other drugs are you taking, or what are you doing?
I'm not even going to question the need for the dick pills. I'm going to question the need to get them from a guy in the gym.
Yes, at least you can go to your doctor and say, hey, dude, ED. I mean, that's all you have to do.
But then again, there's a Eugene Robinson bad story about that, though. That can affect future dates.
Oh, you remember that? I'm going to tell that. I can't tell that story.
Sorry, man.
It's true, but man, I mean, you know, your doctor's going to be sticking his finger up your butt if you're a dude at some point.
They don't do that anymore.
They did it to me recently. What? I need a new deal. My fucking doctor.
Sure, it was a doctor.
I've been molested.
Are you sure
Nate's
it was
like,
a doctor?
wait a second. Every time he goes.
Was it a doctor?
Hey, Nate, can you come back to the doctor? You need to come back for an appointment. I think I caught
Look,
something.
the nurse is in the room. At least he likes to have an audience when he
most doctors don't practice out of clubs called the End Up or the White Swallow or the Stud. FYI, they don't practice out of clubs. Man, every time I go there, they check my prostate. Yeah,
they said it was a flaw. I don't know. It was the weirdest thing. Yeah, no. But you got to trust your doctor. I mean, this is serious stuff. If you're having erectile dysfunction in your 20s, you've got some issues that I think require.
Oh, come on. Where you guys been? People are not taking ED pills because of that. Because
they're taking it because they're wiping themselves out on fucking drugs, or they're fucking too much. No. That's why.
Or they're what? What was that second?
Or they're fucking too much. If you're trying to have a weekend-long orgy, like either up your game sexually and psychologically, and learn how to pace yourself, or fucking go to a doctor and get Viagra.
Man, the vagina is not waiting for you to pace itself. You got it. You're not running the race to tie it. You're running the race to win it. Hence, Stree Overlord.
So WME-IMG though, because we're going to get into Jon Jones in a second. What he should do, but like, what should they do?
IMG. I mean,
no.
Start from scratch with the light heavyweight division. DC and Rumble. They're not clicking. They're just like Wonderboy Thompson and Tyron Woodley in the welterweight division. They've got all these divisions that have perfectly okay fighters who are not necessarily emerging above the crowd. Now, maybe DC will reemerge as a dominant champion, but at this point, you need two things ideally to have a star. You need it factor, and you need wins, sustained winning streaks at the top. That's what you really need to have a superstar. These guys have neither. And so, and they're not going to grow the it factor. I mean, what personality Rumble Johnson has is a sort of odd mix of he says nice things in the cage and then apparently does bad things outside the cage. You're not going to turn him into a star that you can sell to people on a big scale, even though he might have. What?
It's dangerous.
Yeah, very dangerous. And DC just doesn't have the fighting style. I think he's a little old. I think he's a great guy from what we can tell as far as his public persona, but he's not great guy. Like, he's the kind of great guy that could be a popular champion if he had a huge dominant streak at the top. And I think he's a little too old. I think his style's a little too stale for that. So I think they just keep scoping for talent and keep trying to sign up.
And when he comes back, like, what's your plan if you're them?
With Jon Jones?
What's your plan for Jon Jones's return?
I mean, I'd have to be in mourning for several months if I was them. If I had money invested in the Jon Jones business, don't come around asking me to plan the comeback right now. Let me have some time to focus and heal, because this clown just cost everybody a shit ton of money. And
you see, that's why. So
what's your take, Eugene?
That's why Nate is where he is and WME is where WME is. you got to look at the timing. Look at the timing. Okay, when is the Rumble DC fight?
This year, coming up at the end of the year.
End of the year, right? So both of those guys, win or lose, are not going to be ready to fight before at the soonest when? March, April?
Maybe March, April, but what you're saying is they should drag out their defense until Jones comes back next June?
Not at all. Not at all. I'm saying if they fight at the end of the year, win or lose, you got a winner out of that who could challenge. They could book it for fucking July, and we're none the wiser. If you're WME, this is a fucking blessing, and if this is a blessing, and what you do now with WME, you have a pie that's like this, of which fighting is just a portion of that pie. You know, what you do now in the interim time between when you announce the fight in fucking April for July is you develop every single other portion of that pie, what he should have been doing anyway when I wrote the piece about him in Vogue Men. I'm talking about Johnny Boney Joni. You start to develop him as a fucking property for non-fighting related reasons. You know, is his brand so damaged?
Good money after bad, dude.
Well, for what? For, you know, if Gillette will pay him a fucking $1 million to go, it's as quick as a. Why not?
Will they? Are they? I think all the
if I'm WME, I give him a junior agent, and I say, keep this guy. I said, keep this guy busy and out of fucking trouble until they announce.
No, and the other thing you're missing about the WME picture is these guys have a big nut to pay. They have like $130 million a year interest payment or something to make, and their personal financial bonuses are all hinged on them bumping up the revenue massively and cutting expenses. They've done a great job on the cutting expenses side, but they cannot afford to take that division and just put it on a shelf until July. They've got big events in early spring, Memorial Day.
Okay, all right. For a second now.
Super Bowl Sunday.
Assume they credit him with time served.
So he's looking at June.
Who would he fight in June?
My plan would be have a title fight in April and Jones doesn't. I would not book Jones in a fucking title fight immediately on coming back anyway.
Okay, so we're talking about one warm-up fight anyway between now and July.
You're talking fall.
I'm saying we're not missing much, except for the fact, and you're thinking it, I'm thinking it, everybody else is thinking it, and you're sure as fuck that the people at WME are thinking it. Can he stay out of trouble until then? And I think at this point, the smart money is saying, fuck no. Based on the rumors I'm getting, I'm sorry to say, love dude, but I'm hearing man hasn't made the changes that a man needs to make if a man's going to make changes, if you know what I mean. You know, hanging out with the guys at the mini mart from whence the pills came. And it's like the mystifier, they didn't throw those guys under the bus, but they blaming it on a teammate.
So I think the junior agent getting him busy could help that, you know, that at least it takes him away from the area. Like, and do you think it's such a minimal investment as well because it's a junior agent? He's going to be hungry.
Yeah, exactly. I said, give him a junior agent, run him out there for some stuff. He did his best when he was busy. Idle time is clearly his fucking enemy, Uber driving or no Uber driving, you know. And the reality of it is this guy could lose without fucking losing because he's got about one more chance. He's got about one more fucking chance before people are like, you know what? We're serious people involved in serious business, and I don't have time. Have your tearful fucking press conferences. Without me, we are done. One more time.
Here's the thing. When he was clean cut and he had the commercial on Fox when they had the brand new relationship with the UFC and, you know, he's pushing the kid on the swing with his foot, you know, was he really at his height bringing in that much money to the UFC before all this kind of stuff? Has he ever, what I'm trying to get at is, has he ever shown that he's actually brought in the money commensurate with his ability? Like the same question to be raised with the Mighty Mouse or, you know, anyone who they're great, but they're not making that money in.
Yep. Yeah, I'd say he underperforms. But like Kid Nate said, there's certain prereqs, and he's got them all. And if he could have a sustained period of fucking paying attention to what those are, he might actually be able to do it. But thus far, no, fuck no. How'd that happen? Maybe being a preacher's son, I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this then, Eugene. You're Jon Jones. The USADA panel wrote that you are, quote, not a drug cheat, end quote, but upheld your suspension. What PR moves do you make to overcome the stigma of your, quote, imprudent use of what you pungently refer to as a, quote, dick pill, end quote, and regaining the, quote, estimated $9 million, end quote, you lost as a result?
Okay, well, first of all, anybody who's in a relationship needs to now factor in how this feels to go back home and, first of all, try to explain why you were taking dick pills if you had no intention of doing anything other than working late that night, right? Takes an hour for the pill to kick in. You were going to a strip club. You took the pill at 8. You met your bros at 9:30. You weren't planning to be home until 3. What's that about? You gonna wake me up when you get home, or you jump in the shower and clean your dick and then wake me up? So you got to factor in that the guy's got fucking problems at home. Seriously,
remember that song, "Let Me Smell Your Dick"?
Yeah, exactly. Let me smell your dick. So so he's got problems at home, which of course leads to the inevitable. I'll spend less time at home. I'm gonna dig down deep and I'm gonna train. Training with no end in sight gets kind of boring. So he goes out with the guys with the mini mart, and there we are again. If nobody's been able to impress upon him, if he hasn't been able to look across the aisle and look at McG and go, motherfuck. If not, I mean, you can't. And it's not even youth is no longer a fucking excuse, man. Youth is no longer an excuse. This shit's a fucking business. You think you're going to be fighting like Tito? How many guys who started with Tito are ending up like Tito? And how many guys who started with Tito want to end up like Tito? Mark Coleman, how do you think he's doing these days? Better keep making that fucking money. You think your brothers are going to help? No.
Wow. That's it. What do you think, Nate?
About
Jon Jones.
Jon
How
Jones,
do you?
man.
How do you? If you are him,
I'm out of the Jon Jones business for at least a year. Fuck that clown.
No, if you are Jon Jones, what do you do? Is there any way you can get it back?
No, man. If you're Jon Jones, shut the fuck up. Get your head straight. Serve your suspension. Train. And get either you want to be a star athlete and a top flight performer, or you want to be a fuck up. And fuck ups are a dime a dozen, man. I mean, the fucking streets of this country are full of people just as athletically gifted as Jon Jones, who are enormous fuck ups who never even got the chances he got. I mean, Dave Herman's probably not that much less athletically talented than Jon Jones. He just never fucking trained and sit on the couch and smoke pot, allegedly. Instead, and I mean. And maybe I'm wrong about Dave Herman, and if I am, I'm sorry, Dave, but that's just what I heard. I heard the guy never hit the gym. I mean, Jon Jones is somebody who worked hard, who worked with the best teams, who did what it took to win some big fights, and that's a big feat. And now he's fucking it all up over dick pills and cocaine. I mean, dude, you can do – cocaine was what he fucked up the last time. I mean, it's like – and car wrecks with bimbos. It's like, dude – there will still be bimbos after you've had your title run. Believe me. Ask Randy Couture. There are still bimbos in your 40s, man. I mean,
Man, I don't know anything about that.
Of course not, Eugene. Of course.
So somebody who definitely couched her career on not being a bimbo. Ronda Rousey. Nate, you're the UFC. Ronda Rousey told Ellen that her UFC 207 fight against women's bantamweight champion Amanda Nunes is, quote, definitely one of my last fights, end quote. We all knew her show isn't going to be around forever. But what are you doing, since it's a profitable one, that's ending earlier than you expected?
Man, hype the shit out of this fight in terms of Ronda's last stand. Like, just throw everything at it because this might be your one and only shot. Squeeze that washcloth. Strip mine her asset of every value you can because there's no future in the Ronda Rousey business. I mean, seems like her head.
There's no future in your front.
What? Say that again.
I said, "There's no future in your front." I'm sorry.
Yeah. I love that line.
Yes. I mean, it's just she's telling everybody. If you just watch the Ellen appearance, even before the fight with Holly Holm, you could see, and the fact of who she's training with and the limitations of that camp. Her head is just not in a good space to be a star athlete. And she's had a very heady experience. I mean, going from being
– And a long run.
Yes. And it's hard. Like, just one training camp for one fight is a harder feat than most of us will accomplish in our lifetimes. Mm-hmm. And doing that again and again and again in an increasingly big spotlight with more and more hype about you when you're not Superwoman. And you've got some limitations, and then you get your ass kicked by a kickboxer, and really get it drummed into your head that you've got limitations, and you're like, why do I want to do this again? And how long do I want to do this? Is this really my future? She's clearly saying no. So if you're WME, like, I don't think there's a lot. It seems like Dana White's resigned to it, that she's gone. So enjoy this fight. Maybe lay the groundwork for 2. offer her whatever terms she will take for a second fight, provided she wins. Which I think is a very open question. I mean, Nunes looked monstrous the last time she fought, and I'm not picking Rousey in that one personally. So I don't know, man. But prepare, make your post Rousey plans is what my advice is.
What about you?
And I think she should. I think that I got 2 words for her, and I've been using these 2 words a lot, specifically in the case of Rashad Evans and his amazing photo of his new physique. And those 2 words are Kung Lee. You know, fighting was marketing for his movie roles. The fighting dries up, apparently so did the movie roles. So if there's this idea that people love you and you're going to do a bunch more entourages and this and that because you're the badass sexy girl, you might, or you know what, you might not need that, right? You might not need it. You got enough money, you might not need it. You can have brown babies, that would be Travis Brown babies, and live out your life quite happily off of what you made in, Central Valley. And then, somebody, we might be walking around Target and see somebody slapping a dirty kid drinking, orange soda and Cheez-Its and go, hey, wasn't that? Nah, I mean, she is short for the world, but you want to know something? I'll tell you, just to get your head prepared for this right now, because I know you're holding out hope like I'm holding out hope. She will never fight Cyborg. She will retire. She will retire not having fought Cyborg. If she was going to have the head game right now to fight Cyborg, that fight would already be booked. She's not going to do it. Cyborg seems to know that. In fact, a lot of the bald one seems to know that. Everybody except guys like you and me seem to know that. So you better step to Maluma, darling.
Well, it is funny to see how the power dynamic has shifted. To see how when Cyborg responds to the possible Ronda fight or any kind of Ronda-ness in the past, when Ronda was on top, there was a little head was skewed, in terms of taking a look at what the response was. But now it's like, yeah, you know what? Like you said in a knuckle up, I think last week, Eugene, endurance.
Yep.
Cyborg was at it. She kept at it. People made fun of her. They questioned her, was she's a man, and made just horrible comments about her. Just dragged her in the dirt. She tried to keep her head up and tried to keep on the path of hey, you know what? I'm not going to play into this. I'm going to continue fighting. She did, and she's won. So it'll be really interesting. I mean, it ain't over yet, but And
this is why the movie roles, I think this is where the movie roles dry up, because this is not a narrative that excites people.
Yeah.
I mean, you want that breaking away story, you want that Rocky story, you want her to go out on her fucking shield, and that's pretty much the last thing she wants to do.
Well, speaking about the last thing you want to do, Eugene, you're Reggie Bush. Bossip reported that despite your giving millions to your mistress to keep silent and have an abortion, she is, quote, 6 months along and appears to be going through with the pregnancy anyway and will celebrate her new arrival with a baby shower in Miami next month, end quote. Now that you're in trouble deep, are you losing sleep because she's keeping the baby?
You know what? I hate to say it, and this is not going to earn any fans, but the way he treated her like a whore when he should have treated her like a lover. He's like, here's a bunch of cash, please have an abortion. Here's a bunch of cash, please have an abortion. Let me see. Kid, cash, kid. No.
And no contract too, right?
Yeah, no contract. So, much like 50 Cent and the thing, I mean, at least he burned his house down allegedly to get out of it. You got to take responsibility for your offspring. Every act of sex could result in a pregnancy, which full term could result in a baby. You got to fucking cross your T's, dot your I. But the reality of it is, if he had wanted to get out of this, and this is PR advice that you give when doors are closed, you don't go further away, you get closer. You get closer and closer, and then you say, baby, when we're together. Look, Al Pacino and what the hell, Diane Keaton were a couple. They broke up before Godfather Part 3. Coppola tried to persuade her to come back. Didn't want to be stuck on a movie set with a guy that she had been in a relationship, broke up. He goes to Pacino, you got to talk to her. Pacino goes and talks to her. He rekindles the fucking relationship. The movie gets filmed. He dumps her as soon as the movie's over.
Yep.
Now, do you think any less of Al Pacino? Maybe he was legitimate in love, and maybe he was closer. Say, look, you know, it'll be a time for us. I'm leaving my wife. It'll be time for us to plan a family in a way that makes sense. You know, but I tell you honestly, I couldn't be with somebody who would so grossly disregard my personal take on it. You have the procedure now, and you know, I'll put you in a house, and I'll move in. I'll make plans to move my stuff. And she gets the abortion. You drive with a moving truck. She goes, "Oh, here he comes now," and you just keep driving down the street.
Damn.
You know, and at that point, she's like, "He forced me to have an abortion. He did this." She can go to the press, and then you can go back to your wife and go, I don't know who that is. And she's just crazy fans. Like, I got them everywhere, you know. But at this point, paying for a kid, small recompense. What are you gonna do? I mean, he could have gotten fucking married to her and with no prenup, and then ended up juiced. And I mean, the reality of it is, I don't know. I know guys who played pro ball, man. You have to quickly start making investments that will last you and let you ride out, because 10 years from now, 15 years now, when you're coaching JV football and making fucking 70 grand a year coaching JV football somewhere, you're going to wish you had put that money into a house that you could still have, that you could pay the property insurance on, car that maybe worked, maybe college funds for your kids, you know. But you can't fuck around, man. You can't. You know why it's safe for guys who are broke to fuck around? Because who's trying to juice us? Nobody. Nobody's wanting to keep a kid of a guy who's broke. How's that going to help? I'm going to fight with this guy forever over nickels and dimes trying to get shoes for the kid? No, but he's fucked. So and the ways that he could have got himself unfucked are well past due.
Unfucked. So what do you think, Nate?
Yeah, I mean, the moral of the story is there is no such thing as free pussy. I mean, and that's a crude, ugly way to put it, but there's no such thing as free love or free sex. Like, there are consequences. If people are giving you intimacy and acceptance and physical ecstasy, there's a price to be paid for that. They want something from you. Either they love you, or they're hot for you, or they think you're a big, fat gold mine waiting to get dug. And this fool walked right into it. I mean, if you're that kind of, I mean, it's a tough situation because these guys are charismatic people. These are powerful men. These are people who are, I mean, these are probably guys who could get laid if they were broke. And so it's a little disconcerting. It's like rock stars. Like Ozzy Osbourne had a story about when he stopped fucking with groupies. He was like, oh, one day I woke up and realized, the bitch in bed with me was fucking me, not me fucking her. and
that's pretty perceptive for a fucking loser like that.
Well, but the thing is, even Ozzy in his own right was a beautiful young man, talented, gifted, and could get his own ladies, But at some point he became a commodity that they were after because of who they thought he was, not because who he actually was and what he could do for them and what they could get from being with him. And if you're in that situation, you're the meat on the plate. You're no longer the consumer of the meat on the plate. You think you're chewing through these girls, but they're looking to chew through you. And so, dude fucked up bad. I don't know what he can do at this point to get out of it. I mean, he looks like a complete jackass. And if she can prove the DNA is his, he's going to be on the hook for that. You cannot sign your way out of child support. It just doesn't happen.
Well, something that we're on the hook for. Teachable moment.
And hold on. And I think I should say, none of this. I want to get this away from a character issue. None of this is any proof that she's a money grubbing, gold digging piece of shit. She might actually really fucking love the guy, and maybe actually heard real promises of a future life together, and that's why they are where they are. I'm not saying that there's an ounce of calculation in this. I don't know if that's the case.
Well, I do know it's the case that we're finally going to get to our teachable moment. Nate, you're the U.S. media. Donald Trump won virtually 0 media endorsements. He also won the presidency. How do you course correct?
I mean, I've rarely watched the cable news shows. I make a habit of not watching politics on TV because that shit is just noxious, time-wasting poison. But I watched all three of the cable news channels last night after the election. It was clear who was going to win, and it was weird. It was like walking into a funeral, even at Fox. All three networks. I mean, CNN's the only one that actually had Trumpanzees on the air with Corey What's-His-Face. And I shouldn't be using slurs. I told myself I would stop slurring Trump voters because I'm losing some of my best friends over this nonsense. I mean, divide and conquer is how the establishment has ruled the American people since the beginning, since the 1600s. And this is an amazing example of that if we turn on each other and continue name calling and everything. And if you're the media, I mean, some of these folks on TV last night were saying things like, the media, we've lost touch. We're in this bubble, and we have lost touch with the people we're supposed to be communicating with and speaking for. Like they're speaking at huge swaths of the American public. Even in 2008, when Obama won in 2012, if you look at the county-by-county map with colors, there's little pockets of blue in the cities. The rural areas all went red, even in landslide elections. And now, you know, now you had urban areas. I'm not even sure. Last time I looked, Obama hadn't even won Philly. I mean, I'm not Obama, Clinton. You're looking at a party and the Democrats that lost the Rust Belt, the labor unions, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. These are the states they took for granted as the building block of their coalition that you add California and New York on top of and sweep to the presidency. Somehow, in the course of 20 plus years of ignoring the interests of working people, they lost touch with that. And somehow they attached themselves to all the shit of the Bush administration. How did the Democrats end up being the party of more wars in the Middle East and more banks and you know, all this shit that Bush totally sank on? And the media has been totally cheerleaders for that. They cheerleaded the Iraq War. They cheerleaded the fucking Bush v. Gore in 2000. They acted like that was totally normal, and it was a disaster. It was a disaster at the time, and it became apparent it had disastrous consequences. They cheerleaded us all through 9/11 without ever investigating, hey, was Bush warned about this? Who actually did it? Were the Saudis involved? I mean, they openly took out 28 pages of the document saying what we know about what the Saudis did in 9/11. And the media was just like, oh, fine, I guess we don't need to know. And let's go invade some other countries that are the enemies of the Saudis. It's like, and when you have Clinton still talking about maybe we're going to go to a war with Iran over our alliance with the Saudis, you got a lot of people, like people who've been on the ground in Iraq and Afghanistan going, fuck you, I'm not fighting any more wars for these people. And the media is completely out of touch. Just look at the death rates. Or like look at Standing Rock in Dakota. Yesterday on Facebook, somebody, you know, one of the Native American people fighting that pipeline that I've been following on Facebook posted, I'm not voting. I got nobody in this race. And some liberal tried to give him a lecture. And I was just thinking, you're going to lecture a fucking Sioux Indian who's one of the most fucked over peoples in this whole country. I mean, it does not get much worse than the Sioux Indian Reservation. The only places that can compete with it are like the ghettos in Camden, New Jersey, or the migrant farm workers in Florida, or the coal miners in West Virginia. I mean, those people are stone fucked and have always been fucked by our system. And Obama and Trump and Clinton, none of them are looking out for them. And then to just expect people to give you their vote when you're not looking out for them, you know, what do you expect? And if you're the media, stop fucking lying to people and actually do your jobs as reporters. I mean, maybe when Bush committed war crimes and tortured people, you should have piped up and said, this is absolutely wrong and I'm not going to have anything to do with it. And when Obama said, we're not going to prosecute anybody for this, you should have said something. You know, there's right and there's wrong. And when you go along with wrong so long that you're lost, you know, and they come for you on the night of the long knives, too bad. I mean, I feel about as bad for the media as I feel for Jeb Bush. Fuck you.
What do you think, Eugene?
You see, you heard from Nate, reasonable things. I'm reading the paper in the New Yorker, or in the online, the New Yorker, the Atlantic. People are saying, okay, African Americans didn't come out in the same numbers they came for fucking Obama. Latinos, actually, strangely enough, 29% of them fucking voted for Trump.
For Romney.
the poor whites, they came out, but also college educated whites came out.
Women,
So
66% of white women.
yeah, 60% of white and people. So there's all this kind of, it's like a dark room in which everybody has guns and they're trying to apportion blame. I'm just gonna briefly. You don't need to Donna Shalala me. I told you about my friend John Norman who broke into the police paddy wagon. You remember this story? And then we were on a triple date, double blind date, and we're walking down the street, and these Latino cats are pointing to the cops. There they go, there they go. And I'm like watching this shit happen. And Jake and John, these two friends of mine, are focused on the girls, and John is happy because all his shit he stole from the police paddy wagon. And I see the cop car running down the wrong way street, and I just slow up. And as I slow up, I'm saying, Jake, John, Jake, John, trying to get their attention. And then finally, I gotta cut them loose. So I just stand like I'm looking through the window of an arcade, and a fucking Latino guy said, and there's the third one, there's a third one. I look across the street at him, I go, what, come on. And then they realize, oh, okay, well, I guess we can let you go, And so they arrest him, beat him up, jail him. John had the misfortune of having a whole bunch of crystal meth on him. These were crazy punk rock days, but my feeling largely at this point is you guys are, oh, it's the Latinos, it's women, the media misunderstood. I don't give a fuck about any of that. I don't give a fuck about any of that. I'm looking at cockroach politics now, insect fucking politics, of which my survival is tantamount to fucking everything. I don't give a fuck how it happened. I don't care why it happened. I'm trying to figure out where I need to put my money on the roulette wheel the next 4 years so I fucking profit. I don't know what to tell you. You guys say, oh, just blame. I don't give a shit. I just don't care. I need to negotiate the next 4 years in the way that's going to be the best for me, as well as very possibly, and it's not a long 4 years, because that long 4 years begins, that not long 4 years begins 2 years from now with the midterms, which Democrats don't really show up for anyway. So what can I say? You get what you fucking pay for, and Americans have a predisposition for backing themselves in that I told you so corner. You can't help them. They did George W. Bush. Everybody said it's a bad choice. They did it anyway, and they doubled down on it, and we got fucked. And then, 8 years of Obama, oh, well, things were bad then. Really? How were they comparatively bad? People get tired of good things. The stock market plunges 800 points. I come in, the Trump voter says, well, that was off hours trading, and that was really, it's back up a point. Oh, really? Okay. All right. You know what? I can't fuck with you guys. I need to now very personally figure out a survival plan for me.
If you're the media, put yourself in the media's shoes.
I am the media.
That's true.
I am the media, and you know what? I don't own a single fucking inch of the media that I'm part of. I don't own Ozzy. I don't own Bloody Elbow. I don't own SBA Nation. I don't own Vox. I have a really limited fucking scope, and I'm part of it. These guys. What do we do? You know what? Let's pull the Hitler line, and there we get Nazis into it. When Speer said, when he was giving him the Nero order to bomb the infrastructure of Germany and to put salt in all the fields and all the farms, he looked at him deeply, earnestly, and very seriously and said, Germany has failed me. I don't need Hillary sitting around going, the American people have failed me. Oh, the American people have failed themselves? How surprising. How surprising. That's never happened before. You know what? At this point now.
Did you stay up to see her non-concession speech?
No. I was supposed to do a live cast from Ozzy.com.
Oh, Nevada, right? Weren't you in Nevada?
No, I didn't go to Nevada. I was going to do East Palo Alto, and he said, well, we're going to have you stay in the office and back it up, and then they pulled it because it was crashing the system. So I just ended up being a theoretical backup. But, I left at 10, went to sleep, and went home, found the wife crying. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm about 8 years from fucking retiring, and realistically speaking, I would have liked to have had 8 more stable years. Not going to get it. I need to work on some fucking strategies. What does that mean, Eugene? I don't know.
Well, that's the funny thing. I think that two things. One is when you're talking about the whole media dynamic, what I think is going to happen, I'm not saying I would do this, is the same way mainstream media had Obama whisperers, you're going to continue to see the Trump whisperers and people who are going to be on a lot of so-called liberal media sites trying to explain Trump and his policies and everybody to everything. And so I don't really think there's going to be much difference that's going to occur, one. And two, when you talk about having to deal with what the impact and effect is before going to bed, even before we knew what was going on, you know, my kids asked, like, oh, what if Trump wins? What if this? And I just had to break down to them. This is even before knowing how things would go. You know, given the lies of Nate Silver and all these other people, like, pumping up, you know, the inevitable Hillary win, I had to tell them, like, look, there's no guarantee she's going to win. And at the end of the day, you know, I had to break down the fact that, look, there are certain things that have been done. There's certain problems that have been had. There's certain things that we've had to experience. I gave them examples when I was a kid. And I remember this. When I was a kid, before Ronald Reagan won, somebody told me, I know who it was. I was 8 years old. And they said, you know, if Reagan wins, there's this guy, Alexander Haig, who's going to be a Secretary of State, and he's going to declare nuclear war. So if Ronald Reagan wins, we are going to have a nuclear war. I freaked the fuck out as a kid, you know? And at the end of the day, I remember looking at those electoral maps as a kid, especially that Mondale election, right? You got like one state, Minnesota, and D.C., because I was in D.C. You always get D.C. as Democrat.
Yeah, I voted for Mondale.
So at the end of the day, you know, these dynamics, you be like, oh, what are we going to do? I've never seen it. Come on, man. How am I going to explain this to my kid? Well, your kid's never had a racist incident as a parent of color. You never had your daughters never had any kind of sexist thing. You never had to explain anything to her. Everything was perfect utopia, and now the utopia is ruined. Come on, man. Look at people's friends on Facebook. People's friends on Facebook have been telling them for months what's going to happen, right? These are your so-called friends, and they're telling you how they feel. They're going off on you. It's like you said, it's like two different total camps that are at war going on. That's been happening for months. And no matter what happened, people stayed within their little foxhole, getting these perspectives. And at the end of the day, what happened was very predictable. So don't get me wrong. It's not like I don't have sympathy. We'll find out. People wanted Richie Rich. They got Richie Rich. They have a House and Senate. Instead of being the party of no, they're going to have to do something. In theory, they're going to have to do something about it. But at the end of the day, like, it's not this, you know, it's this whole, like, end of the world. Like, we've never seen anything like this. Come on.
It is and it isn't. But there's a big difference between Reagan and Trump. Now, whether or not Trump can actually pull off the shit he's talking about. I mean, there's two problems with Trump. One is, he's manifestly incompetent and not qualified for the position. He wasn't even a good business leader. So if you elected him to do shit, you sure you couldn't have found a better guy to do that same shit?
If that's Ronnie, like, at a certain point.
And
like,
wait, and the second point is, this is a guy who campaigned by attacking the actual foundations of our democratic republic. He campaigned against freedom of the press. He campaigned against racial tolerance. He campaigned against nonviolence. He campaigned against everything that this country has stood for. Ronald Reagan made racist dog whistles and shit, but he never made open, unapologetic racist appeals.
I'm just saying, like, living a life as a minority in this country.
No, the minorities knew it.
Like, at the end of the day, it's like, what else is new?
Yeah, what else is new if you're a minority? Yeah, but if you're a white person, especially a member of the elite, more importantly, Reagan never threatened to not follow the results of an election. Reagan never threatened to round up reporters and get vengeance. I mean, Trump campaigned as a fascist, not as a Republican.
You know,
what was that speech when Reagan, he said, "I believe in states' rights"?
He said all kinds of shit. I'm not defending Reagan. I'm not defending Reagan. No. But Reagan never assaulted the actual foundations of our democratic republic, which Trump has.
Correct.
I mean,
well, but you know what? The Trump supporter
did all kinds of awful things and did all kinds of awful things that subverted our republic. Right. I mean, Iran-Contra, I think, was a fucking criminal act and should have been prosecuted as such, just like Watergate.
Yep. Well, you know, the Trump supporter that was here, he would say, I've talked to him every day for the past 6 months, he would say in response to Kid Nate, what are you talking about?
Yep.
You say that he's threatened the very institution of democracy. When?
Yeah.
I'm just following the Trump guy's argument.
I know.
He would say when, and you could go, well, in plenty of speeches. He goes, name one.
Yeah, you know, the same thing with Donald Trump.
Then he will say, where did you hear about that speech? You say, I don't know. I read about it on CNN.
In the media.
Oh, see, yeah.
Yeah,
So then
but
right
see, the thing is,
away,
they won't even
he disqualifies it.
if you show them a video that Trump shot and released, and he denies it, they're going to go with that. I mean, an authoritarian ruler creates his own reality, and part of the power trip is getting everybody to go along with that reality.
You know what they call it. You know what they call the systematic denial of the reality of experience. You know what the word we call it nihilism. That's what we call it.
Well, that's I don't know about that. That's
well, you look it up. That's
strong skepticism.
You look up. That's what we systematic denial of the reality of experience. Nihilism. That's it.
I did not know that. Thank you for the education. I thought nihilism was more like a relentless negativity, but I haven't ever looked up the word up. So, I mean, nihilists, there's nothing you can do to communicate with them, but we have not had a nihilist in power before in the U.S. And I mean, the difference between Trump and Hitler or Franco or Pinochet, he's not coming in behind guns. He doesn't have organized street armies. He doesn't have an organized fascist movement behind him. So if you're hoping for fascism, you got a lot of work to do, dude, because this is not it. I mean,
but you know what? You know what? There's another word I like, autarky, A-U-T-A-R-K-Y, something. Autarky. It's a rule of the radically individual, which for me, in my plan, my cockroach politics plan, means it's about me. Me. If it's all about me, fuck you, no us, no, maybe a them. But really, fundamentally, it's about whatever I can do to vouchsafe fucking gain for me and mine in the next few years. It's a fucking grab fest that I'm going to
Well, you know what? If you want to survive as an individual, the number one way to be strong as a human being is to be part of a strong group, to be a critical member of a strong group. Lone individuals have never beaten tribes of people. That just does not happen. And so... Is there
a try? You know, when you read June Chang's book on Mao, I started to think that what was really special about Maoism is that you could just as easily call it meism. He seemed to be, I don't think I ever had a world leader there was no long march from Mao. He was carried. You know, it was really a case of, well, what's good for me? And I think we're very much in a similar situation. I don't think that he's the president of all Americas, he's come out and said today. I don't buy that. But you know what? I don't have to buy it because, you know what, frankly, in the next 4 years, I'm too busy putting my hands on anything that I can grab because why care about the rest of America?
Like
clearly.
A looter.
Well,
I mean, how do you think those buildings, how do you think those Trump towers got built, Jack?
Why do you think he can't build another building? Why do you think he got drummed out of the building business? Because he can't work with people. Because nobody will work for him after so many people have been burned on the payment end. Nobody will loan him money except Deutsche Bank because so many bankers and creditors have been ripped off. I mean, this is a guy who is not welcome to do work in the New York construction business because he fucked everybody over he worked with. And
because
I think
they don't accept vodka as payment? What do you mean?
I mean, that's the thing. And, you know, we can either hang together or hang separately. And so, I mean, if you're planning on waving when the buses come to deport your wife, you know, I mean, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about this deportation thing he's talking about. Even if you think it's a good idea, it's an extremely difficult idea to pull off. And I see no indication that this guy is capable of mounting the biggest ethnic cleansing in human history, which is what he's fucking talking about. Stalin never even deported 11 million people. I mean, he killed 11 million people, but frankly, it's a lot fucking easier to kill 11 million people than it is to pick them up and move them, especially against their will. And I mean,
my wife is not Mexican.
Well, you know, because
then we do you really think he's talking about white immigrants? Is that really
who's white? I mean, that's the thing. I know. Start drawing this distinction. White gets real.
I know that's
real selective.
That's what I told her. She goes in Poland. I'm white. I go. You're only white here as long as you keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
The second you open your mouth and you've got an accent, you're not white. Yep. Sorry, that's the reality. She goes, really? I go. For most Americans, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
You know, but I mean, it's a two-way street. The fucking rednecks have been dying out there, literally. You know, I mean, dying. That's the white middle-aged coterie is the only demographic group whose life expectancy is going down because of a massive wave of alcoholism and suicide and drug overdose. And these are people I know. And a lot of them are stupid assholes some of the time. Some of them are stupid assholes all of the time.
Listen,
some of them are
you know
almost never stupid assholes, but as a collective, something's really wrong, and these are our fellow citizens, and it would have behooved us to say, what's going on with y'all, and how can we help?
While you're thinking about stuff like that, I'm plotting my next 5 moves because I'm not going to die with the rest of yous. So
good luck with that.
What the Trump? Hey, man, hiding. How many stories? How'd you make it through
You're
the whole?
fairly public at this point, Eugene. I think we're both on the list if they're at all.
Oh, if only.
Yeah, you both.
If only. We're fairly public. Really? Hey, I need some money to pay my American Express bill in a few weeks. Anybody? Crickets. Fucking crickets. There's nobody around to give me money. Well, that's not true. Tommy, thank you, man, once again. So listen, the Trump guy who was here, he said, listen, you're upset, but I bet you're happy that you don't have 100,000 Syrian refugees in your fucking backyard now. And I go, well, come on. I said, I'm not down here with the weeds. I'm done. I'm thinking about how to make it the next 4 years. He goes, no, listen. The only reason that they were going to, this is what he believes. The only reason that they were going to cut this deal for 100,000 fucking Syrian refugees, why would they do that? I don't know. He says, because she was about to be outed for starting the war in Libya for political gain. And the only way that she could buy them off was as a direct result of having destabilized Syria by taking in these fucking refugees so they would keep it quiet. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to have this discussion with you because I got to get running. I got to get running.
Miles and running.
Yeah, good luck to you. Have the discussions with somebody else who's going to stand and talk. I'm going to get running, so I got a head start between me and the fucking guns. And kid, you're wrong if you think that I'm talking about hunkering down, in a cabin in the woods. Yeah, that's not what I'm talking. Go see the movie Mephisto. Go see the movie. You want Eugene Robinson's craven take on surviving the future? What, like the old guy in Catch-22 who said, we're Italy. The Germans were here and they're gone. The Americans were here and here gone. And Clevenger was all outraged. Don't you have a firm moral footing? And the guy was like, somebody else will come and somebody else will go. And through it all, we are, But you don't have any. Nah, I don't have any core beliefs. Sorry. My core belief is making it the next 4 years. That's my core belief.
Well, that's well and good, but,
I'm putting the Trump signs in my yard now. Right now.
Yeah,
I was on board the whole time.
I never felt comfortable publicly admitting it because I didn't want the humiliation of people who just would tease me.
There's plenty of people who were in East Prussia whose game plan was just to ride out Hitler. And there's a point when the tanks come and they come for you.
The people in East Russia made out okay. Yeah. Those guys got fucked.
So what do you suggest then?
Or like the people who left Germany, well, we got to go someplace safe. Let's go east. Bad idea.
So bad idea, but the ones who went west, I mean, I don't personally think that this is a people are about to be rounded up situation. We'll see. And I'm going to oppose that. I'm not going to fucking sit here. But, the reality is Obama has deported millions of immigrants. Obama has massive prison camps in Texas that are filled with women and children that are being fucked over in horrific ways for the profit of the private prison system. I mean, for the Democrats to pretend like, oh, we're the representatives of the people and this was good versus evil and all this shit, fuck you. Where were you when these Honduran kids were thrown into prison camps? Where were you when these kids are being stripped from their parents under Obama? I mean, Don Siegelman, the former governor of Alabama, has been in prison for 7 years for doing something every politician in America does. He took a political donation and he appointed somebody to a committee. They didn't even prove quid pro quo. Obama didn't lift a fucking finger. I mean, the Democrats have had complete obliviousness for anybody who fell through the cracks, and that's coming back to fucking bite them. I mean, Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania, these states stuck through with the Democrats through the civil rights shit. I mean, they swung back and forth with Reagan and everything, but they came back home in the 90s, and the Democrats didn't deliver. The jobs were hollowed out. I mean, you gotta deliver for people. That's what politics is, representing people's interests. And I am not capable of that kind of cravenness. I'm just not that good of a suck up. I'm going to be the stupid asshole throwing rocks at the tanks and they'll take me away. Whatever. Fuck you.
What a perfect segue. Throwing rocks at tanks, being taken away. For Eugene, your lost battalion.
Oh, easy. I don't even have to wait for it. Hey, you know what? US of A, yeah, baby, we're great again, right? we're number one again. And the mist is encroaching, and we're like, fucking A, USA, we're all right. No, baby, we're lost battalionized right now, right here. Sorry. And you got to understand, if I'm saying it, it comes from a decidedly apolitical point of view. Go, Eugene, you voted for Hillary. Whatever, man. I'm talking about things as they are, not things as I would wish them to be. You know in your heart of hearts, if you're a Trump guy, you are hoping against hope that the guy can make it around that fucking track. And that's an analog for me. You put me in a race car, you're like, fuck, man, Eugene, have you ever driven a race car? So, well, kinda, I drive a car. Well, it's not really the same. I can figure it out. I got people who can help me. Man, and you're sitting there hoping, man, I hope I see Eugene on the other side. I hope he makes it around that track. You hope. Who's going to be in this fucking cabinet? I mean, we're going to see, I got 3 words for you. Ulysses S. Grant. You know why I like Ulysses S. Grant? He had one of my favorite political quotes of all time, and that was, quote, "I've been fucked and I can feel it." Period, end quote. Why? Because the successful Civil War general was hustled into the seat of power, and he was surrounded by a fucking den of thieves. Now the difference is if somebody's stealing, there's nobody who's going to know that somebody's stealing, unlike a casino owner. But opposing the stealing and aiding and abetting the stealing, 2 fucking different things. Who's going to serve in this guy's cabinet? Who with real political aspirations, who in advance of the midterm elections coming up in 2 years, who's going to want to play ball? Was it Little Marco? Was it Ted Cruz? Are they going to play ball now? They've seen that movie Mephisto.
He's not going to want him.
Doesn't want him. He's got a vindictive streak a mile long. He's not going to want him. They are effectively sidelined. Will they form an opposition cabal? And who's going to follow them on that opposition cabal? And who are the Democrats going to run out in 4 years? Well, people keep seeing. I keep hearing her name, Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth. You know what? There is no V2 rocket that's going to save us. There is none of that. There is no. It is really fucking time to start thinking about second acts in American lives. And if I take this vote as anything, it's been that we're done with the second act. We had Clintons. We don't want more. We had Bushes. Don't want any more. We don't want these dynastic things. You know what? You got 4 years to make shit right. If you don't make it right, we'll zag, we'll zig, we'll whatever. But in the meantime, we have a belief that we're gonna when we get that title shot, and the rest of the world is like, there's no title shot for you. There is no title shot for you. But it's a global crisis, and it's a global leadership crisis that's come about as a result of upheavals in fucking in the Middle East that will never fucking stop. And I had some guy tell me the other night, he's talking to me, friendly guy, a guy I've known for a while, and he goes, I had 4 friends die recently. I go, what the fuck was it, cancer? And he looks at me, and I realize finally he's speaking with a French accent. He goes, no, at Bataclan. I go, 4? He goes, 4, man. 4 of my friends went to the fucking Eagles of Death Metal show, and they're fucking dead. Dead. Guys I hung out with, drank with, went to college with, they're fucking dead. Guys are getting their heads chopped off in traffic in fucking England. You know what? People said the number 1 reason why they voted for Trump was Obamacare, or somebody sent a text into Ozzy or a tweet into Ozzy that said, how about this? If he was a red state guy, he said, what did he say? He said, I can't quite remember what he said. He goes, no, he said, we don't like Hillary, and we're not happy with abortion, and we love guns. Jack, that's the fucking it. I mean, I'm not a single issue voter. I got a couple of issues. I don't, why play along? If you live in a town, if you live in towns with 50 people in them, if you live out in, None of this shit means any. The shit that means stuff in New York, that means in San Francisco, Los Angeles, doesn't mean fuck all to you. Schools, you got the smartest person in town is working in the school. The kids are reading the book. What? It just doesn't. We have two different Americas here. You know, two fucking different Americas, and it's not going to get better. It's worse. And then we're thinking that that we got a crown on, and we're going to. Nah, we are lost, buddy. Fucking lost. You know, and I'm not saying anybody's responsible. I was just as willing to say that we were lost 6 months ago as I am now. We are not just lost. We are fucking losing, you know.
This is a reckoning that's been coming for a long fucking time for this country. I mean, one thing that's happened is after World War II, we won the biggest war ever, and we were uniquely prosperous in world history. We had 3% of the world's population, and we're taking in 25% of the world's money. That is not a sustainable thing. That's not God's plan forever. That was a lucky situation where there was luck and opportunity and preparation. We were strong. We had cleared the fucking continent and plundered it. We had built a pretty strong industrial base. We were isolated from these wars by 2 oceans, and we're able to participate in these wars at a distance and project incredible amounts of force. And nobody is coming out and saying, hey, assholes, we are the children of people who won the lottery. The lottery is over. That money is gone. We squandered it, and now you're fucked. Nobody said that to us. Everybody says, it's our fucking birthright to be the wealthiest people, not just in the world, but in the history of the world. I mean, the per capita energy use by Americans over the last century is more than like one American was burning more energy in their lifetime than like the entire fucking Anglo-Norman dynasty of England from 1066 to 1700. I mean, think about that. Every single asshole in America is using more energy than every fucking king of England for 700 years. That is not going to last. That is not sustainable. And nobody's had the balls or the acumen to say, whoa, this is not sustainable. This is not our birthright. This is something that's changing, and we're going to have to fucking deal with it. We've been feeding ourselves lies, standing around with our fucking phones in our faces, watching cable TV, infotainment bullshit, getting divided against each other over pretty stupid shit that has divided us forever, and playing into plutocrats winning. And the thing is, the plutocrats don't even know what they're fucking doing. If your argument is, oh, I don't want Syrian refugees here, well, you keep ignoring climate change. I hope you like Bangladeshis better than you like Syrians, because there's not a couple million of them. There's a fucking billion of them. And they're about 6 inches over sea level. And they're going to go somewhere. And there's no wall that can stop a fucking horde of human beings. We can't even stop locusts, okay? We can't stop seas. We can't stop a tidal wave. These people have thumbs, and they have brains, and they have feet, and they are fucking going to be desperate, and they're going to be coming here and taking our shit. That's the fucking fact. And our kids are fat and lazy and stupid and drugged up and playing video games. Their kids are hungry and mean and exposed to all kinds of diseases and have survived. They're coming. They're coming. If we don't deal with climate change,
the dusky hordes.
Well, yes. but Trump doesn't believe climate change is real.
Yeah, but you keep doing that in Fort Miami drowns. I mean, tick, 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 tick.
Or like the Trump guy would say here, there's no science behind that. It's just what some shit that CNN says. You know what? I'm trying to find the next and nearest plutocrat so I can tell him I'm with him. You want to survive this? like that snake.
If you want to believe Goebbels when he's saying we're about to turn it around on the Eastern Front, the new secret weapon is coming any day. Feel free, but the fucking ice caps are fucking melting. And if
you just read that on CNN,
see, and that's the thing. The media has destroyed their own credibility by fucking lying to us about so much shit that people don't even know what to fucking believe. And we've put all this infotainment technology in people's hands that people are not prepared for. And here we are, we're reaping the whirlwind. People do not even know fact from fiction. And you cannot function if you cannot accurately perceive reality. It's just like, go put a fucking blindfold on and take a fucking handful of OxyContin and get in your car and get on the freeway. That's what we're doing as a country.
I call that Tuesday.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Oh, man.
So, in other words, our advice is largely the same, and that advice comes down to save yourselves.
And my argument is the best way to save yourselves is stick close to family and friends, and do not let bullshit like Trump versus Clinton divide you, because you're going to have that same brother-in-law in 4 years if you're lucky, and Trump is going to come and go. So stick with the people you can actually trust when the shit is down, is my advice.
Yeah, but then I'll take that one step further. Is be very careful about who you believe you can trust. What is that thing that Octave Mirbeau said in his book, The Torture Garden? There are some backs that cry out for the knife. I'm trying not to have my back be one of them, despite the fact that I'm at backstabbing central here at Sorrow Academy.
Yes.
Well, thanks for joining us. Follow us on Twitter at Eugene S. Robinson.
Guns and munitions and supplies and food, water.
The Walking Dead, baby. At Kid Nate, at Alexi Old, please give us a thumbs up, Eugene.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Before we ring off, actually, the D-Man says, who texts in usually during the show, he said, I'd use Jon Jones to get rid of USADA. Suspending the GOAT over a dick pill, that's a big enough fuck up to remove them or at least cut their nuts off. And you still get the shit on Jon Jones. He could be the star that has no leverage. And I'd totally book Jones in a title fight. If he fucks up again, you can replace him easy. Other people will want that fight. Will other people want Gus? Good point.
Good advice all the way around. Get this man a fucking show.
I know. I should. Well, hey, I should. What the hell? Hey, I'm a water toter. I can't do shit. You tell me. You know.
And tell him by leaving comments on YouTube, subscribing to MMANation.com on YouTube to watch his shows, and MMA Nation on iTunes. Visit Bloody Elbow, read Eugene at Ozzy.com, and be sure to check out all three of us on Amazon.com. We'll be back next week with another installment of If I Did It, and we don't know what we're going to be talking about because the PR mistakes have yet to be made.
Oh, I already did that.